Okay, hi. So this is just a quick tutorial that we'll just be working on, and the end goal will be trying to host our n8n on our custom server. So in this scenario, I'll just be hosting this one on Countable. This is one of the platforms that I'll be using, and the reason I'm using this one is a bit cheaper, even though it's not that commonly known. This one is a bit cheaper, and a lot of people have been using this one. So if you want to get started, this is one of the applications you can use. Alternatively, you can try to use either DigitalOcean. This is also another good application you can use, or some of these other applications. But in this case, let's just try to do this one. So the first few steps what we'll just do, we'll try to do a quick installation. And for this one, we'll just be trying to install Ubuntu. This is what we'll be using. And I'll be using this version 20.40. I'll come and set my password. So this one you must set a nice password since this is what we'll be using. And then I'll just install Docker. This one will say I need to, this one just says I'm going to override some of the previous information I had done. So let's run this. So this one will just run. We won't save this password. And then we can see this one has already completed the installation. So first things first, we'll try to log into our server. In this case, we'll be using an application called Party. So let's just close this one. And for this application, you can find this application on your PC. Alternatively, you can just try to install it. The application is called Party. And once you do this, you'll just come and use the how do you call it, the IP address on this one. So you just come and copy your IP address, come to your party. This is what you'll be coming to. Paste this one here, and then load. Or maybe you can just alternatively you can open. This one came to this other side. So this one says this is what we have. Let's see. So this one will just accept. I'm going to log in as the admin, and then I'll use the password I said. So this one is, yeah, the admin. And then I'm going to use the password I said. This one is not going to display. Let's reload this again. We'll come open here and then try to set this up afresh. We are going to log in as the root. Yeah. And now for my password. So no, you cannot be able to see the password on this one. So you must be able to set a password that you can be able to remember, and also a simpler password that we can be able to use. And voila, so this is what we'll be having. Okay, so this is the simplest solution. So I'll try to minimize these two, yeah, so that we can be able to do everything hand in hand. So as you can see in this one, I don't have any application stored, so I don't have even Docker. So if we were to check, so we don't have any application. So meaning this is already a new server. We don't need this anymore, so we can just move this to the furthest point. That is the first thing we need. So then the other stuff you will need to sign up to Superbase. This is what I do prefer, since this is much easier to use, and also you have the access to the UI. You can be able to do a million stuff with this one. You can add either the n8n data, you can add other stuff. So this is what I do recommend using in terms of using the Postgres. But if you just want to use the internal database, you don't need to do an external setup. All you just need to do is follow the guidelines on n8n, and then you'll be good to go. So we'll come to, this is the setup that we'll be using. Hereby we'll be, instead of us creating a, how do we call it? We won't be creating a droplet in this one, since this one is just the countable. So what we'll do, we'll come and clone our configuration. So we'll come and clone this one. We want to clone this one into our new database. And once we do this, the next step will just be going to go to that database in that folder. So once we do this, so what happens is, once we download this one, we want to go inside that folder. And now that is why we are doing the cd docker, and then going to inside that folder the n8n docker cd. So then the next steps for this one will just be following these steps, whereby we'll be creating a data volume. This one will be creating two. One will be the n8n data, and then the other one will be the CADI data set. So this is what we'll do. We'll come and paste the first one. We'll have the n8n CADI. Then we'll do the second step where we'll do the n8n data. Once we do this, we are good. So then the next step will be going to your n8n. This one will just go to your server setup, not your server but your hosting, and then just try to point your domain to your server. So what will be happening, you will go to your n8n, to your hosting platform, and then create a new subdomain and try to point that subdomain to this URL endpoint here. And that is, once you do this, then you can be able to access your n8n based on either that subdomain that you created. Alternatively, you can try to just use the IP address itself to access this endpoint. Once we do this, then the next step will just be trying to open our ports. These are two ports that n8n needs to use. It needs access to port number 80. Also, it needs access to port number 443. We'll come and paste both, and then say we have already updated both, and these two ports are open. Once we see these ones are open, we'll just proceed to the next steps. We'll come to our nano.env. And what nano.env does is that this one just gives us a platform whereby we can be able to point our, what do we call it, where we can be able to point our n8n, and then we can be able to store our data. So this is where we'll be storing our data. So this one should be reading the root, since we were at the root. This one now should be pointing to our base domain. So for example, in this case, let's say we have fbotics.com. So this one we can be having n8n.fbotics.com. Or maybe if you are using google.com, so you can have n8n.google.com etc. This one will be the subdomain. So if you're using n8n, you're using dev.com etc. This is what we'll be using. This is your generic time zone. In my case, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. So this is what I'll need to change. And then you need to have the SSL email, which will be used to get our email. So I'll do some quick updates on this one. And once I'm done, we'll just be back. Okay, so in my case, this is what I'll be having, whereby I have my subdomain as n8n. Also, I'll be having my domain as fbotic.com, and also I'll now be having my time zone as Africa, Nairobi. So I'll just exit this one and save. We already have that. So then now the next step for this one will be pretty simple. So we'll now come to our Docker Compose and then try to set up a few stuff. So we'll come to this one, Docker Compose, then do the same. Hereby we'll just come and then try to change a few stuff on this one. So once you come to the config file, this is what you'll be having. You will be having your ports. Remember what we had pointed out. We needed these two open. Also, we'll be having our volume. Remember what we created on this part here, where we ran these two commands. We'll now be having our volume. Also, we'll be having the other volume for n8n. This one also will be having its own volumes. Yeah, here we go. Then the other thing will be having some of these references. So as you can see on this one, we have our subdomain and the domain name. This one will be n8n fbotics.com, since that is what we had already used in this one. We already have our home. This we don't need to do a lot of changes on this one. All we just need to do is save the same file again, and then we can finalize our steps. So I'll try to rush through this one. So this is what we can also change, whereby we have the config file. So what we'll just do on this one, we will be changing this one from n8n.domain to n8n fbotics.com. So this one will be having fbotics.com. That's a caps. We'll delete. No. Let's just retry that again. So we'll be opening our config file again. Perfect. So what we'll just be doing is trying to edit these two. Yeah. Let's see. Perfect. Yeah, here. Okay. Perfect. And then you can save. And once this one is done, so I think everything will all be set. So we can just try to see if we run this one, will we be able to get our results. So already this is pulling, and then let's see what we get. So once this one has finished running, all you just need to do is come to n8n.febotics.com. So this one will just be using some small, exactly, and then we can be able to access our setup. So this is the page that we'll be able to find. So this one will come and use our email. This is what we'll be having. This one will say Zakaria, will say Kimodo. Then let's see whether they are good. Then we can just do a new setup for our password, and then we can just sign in. Let's see what we get. This one we can just say software as a service. I'm a business owner. This one depending on whom you're working with, but in my case, so this one you can say you are a big company, you are not that much. I found you on Google, and then we can just do this. So also we can get them free. Once you do this, you can also get a few features. So this one I'll ask them to send me a new email. So this is what I'll just say, send me a new license key. And once I receive this one, I can be able to unlock each and every other endpoint I need. So this is my setup. As you can see, it was much easier. No hassles, no pain. This was a bit faster to set up. So already I can see my email, my license is on my way. Let me just get my license and then see how we can set this up. Okay, perfect. So here is my license. So I'll just come and copy my license, go back to my workspace, go to the settings. So I no longer need this tab. So I can just now make this a full screen. Come to my usage and plans, and then just activate my new plan. So we'll just come to usage and plan, close, and then say we want to activate this, and then we can have those three features that we already wanted. Go back, and then we can test. So what we just want to test will be testing two things. And the first I always like to do is just test whether our webhooks are working. Based on the syntax that we'll be having on our webhooks, we should be having our webhook pointing to this endpoint here. So that is the first thing that we'll be trying to test. And then the other part will just be testing to see how the general n8n functions and how this system looks like. I'm not sure why this one is a bit slow. Might be an issue with the internet, but let's see. Okay, so this is what we have. We'll just come and use our webhook and then just confirm the syntax in this one. So already we have a nice performing webhook format. So already we can just be able to use this one. So that is all you need. This one can take you around 10 to 15 minutes. You don't need to do a lot. But in this example, we'll just be using the internal database. So in the next example, I'll just be showing you how we can be able to set up an n8n to be able to use a Postgres database. Thank you. Bye-bye. As you can see on this one, we have a few things. One, we already have the settings whereby you have the subdomain. Also, we have the domain. These ones will just be referencing already what we have on the previous side. We have the port. This one is already port number 5678. As you can see on this one, remember what I had said, we need these two ports open. Let's go back. We need these two ports open, and that is why we have them at this part here. Then we have our volume. Remember the volume we had already created. So this is the volume we created here. So now this is what we'll be referencing on this one. On the other side, on the env, we said this one is the root. So this one will be root, the config files, all that. Then the other steps will be stop.